The observation deck of Nexus Station was quiet at this hour. Most beings were sleeping or working in the lower levels, but Dr. Valara Shenkai could not sleep. She stood near the large window, her lavender fingers pressed against the cold glass. Below her, in the garden plaza, she watched something that made her twin hearts beat faster with fear. A human father was playing with his small daughter. The child was perhaps 3 years old. She had wild brown hair and a laugh that echoed through the plaza. She was running fast, too fast, and Valara knew what would happen before it did. The little girl fell. Valara gasped. The child's knee hit the hard ground. Blood appeared on her skin. The girl began to cry loudly, her face red with pain and surprise, and then the human father did something that shocked Valara completely. He laughed. He actually laughed as he walked to his daughter. He picked her up gently, looked at the wound, and kissed it. He whispered something in the child's ear. Within moments, the little girl was laughing too. The father put her down and she started running again. The same activity, the same risk, as if nothing had happened. Valara turned away from the window. Her hands were shaking. She had been studying humans for 3 years now, and they still terrified her in ways she could not explain to her own people. She was Valorian. Her species came from a world called Valoria Prime, a planet so peaceful that the word predator did not exist in their language until they met other species. There were no storms on Valoria Prime, no earthquakes, no dangerous animals. The Valorians had evolved in perfect safety, and they valued that safety above all things. To Valara's people, humans were fascinating, but deeply disturbing. Humans came from Earth, a planet that seemed designed to kill its inhabitants. They had survived ice ages, supervolcanoes, and asteroid impacts. They shared their world with creatures that could eat them, poison them, or crush them. Their weather could freeze them or burn them within the same year. And somehow, impossibly, they had not only survived, they had conquered their world and reached for the stars. But the thing that frightened Valara most was not human strength or human endurance. It was how they raised their children. Valorian children were protected from every possible danger. They were kept in safe environments until they were fully mature. They were taught to avoid risk, to calculate every action, to never do anything that might cause harm. Human children were taught to climb trees they could fall from. They were encouraged to run, jump, and explore. Their parents watched them get hurt and did not panic. They kissed wounds and sent their children back to play. It was madness. Beautiful, terrifying madness. Valara walked back to her quarters, her mind troubled. She was a xenobiologist, one of the best on the station. Her job was to study human biology and report her findings to the Valorian Science Council. Her reports were always the same. Humans were more resilient, more adaptable, and more emotionally unpredictable than any species in the known galaxy. But lately, her reports had become harder to write, because lately Valara had started to feel something she did not understand. She was fascinated by humans. Not just scientifically, personally. She watched human families in the station's common areas. She observed their loud dinners, their spontaneous hugs, their easy laughter. She saw human couples hold hands as they walked. She saw human parents carry sleeping children on their shoulders. There was something about them that called to her. Something warm, something alive, and it frightened her more than anything else. Her personal terminal blinked with a new message. She opened it and felt her stomach tighten. It was from Torek, her betrothed. Torek was a Valorian diplomat stationed on a nearby world. Their bonding had been arranged 2 years ago. He was everything a Valorian partner should be: calm, logical, safe. He sent her exactly 2 messages per week, always at the same time. He discussed practical matters. He never surprised her. The message read, "Valara, I have received approval for our bonding ceremony. The date is set for next season. All arrangements are proceeding correctly. I look forward to our partnership. Torek. Valara read the message 3 times. She should feel happy. She should feel relieved. This was what she had planned for. This was the safe path, the correct path, the Valorian path. Instead, she felt empty. She closed the message and sat on her bed. Outside her window, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere on this station, human families were laughing together. Human parents were reading stories to their children. Human lovers were holding each other close. And Valara was alone with her perfectly planned future. She did not cry. Valorians rarely cried, but that night, tears fell down her lavender cheeks, and she did not understand why. 3 hours later, everything changed. A massive alarm cut through the station. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Valara jumped from her bed, her heart's pounding. She had never heard this alarm before. Emergency. Docking Bay 7. All medical personnel report immediately. Valara grabbed her medical kit and ran. The scene at Docking Bay 7 was chaos. A transport ship had crashed during landing. Fire and smoke filled the air. Station security was trying to control the flames. Medical teams were pulling survivors from the wreckage. Valara pushed through the crowd, ready to help. And then she stopped. Through the thick smoke, she saw something that made her freeze. A human soldier was walking out of the burning ship. His face was black with smoke and red with burns. His left leg was bent at a wrong angle, clearly broken. He should not be standing. He should not be moving. But he was carrying 2 small children in his arms. 2 Valorian children, unconscious but alive. "Someone take them!" Valara screamed, running toward him. The soldier looked at her. His eyes were red from smoke, filled with pain. But there was something else in them, too. Something that Valara had never seen before. Determination. Pure, unbreakable determination. "Not done yet," he said. And he walked past her, toward the medical tents, still carrying the children. His broken leg dragged behind him, his burned skin cracked with each step. But he did not stop. He did not fall. He was not done yet. Valara watched him go, her twin hearts beating in a rhythm she did not recognize. She did not know his name. She did not know his story. But in that moment, watching that broken human refuse to stop, something changed inside her. Something woke up. And nothing would ever be the same again. "Put them down. You will collapse." Valara ran after the soldier, her medical kit bouncing against her hip. The human was still walking, still carrying the 2 Valorian children in his burned arms. His broken leg made a terrible sound with each step. She could see bone pressing against skin. He should have fallen long ago. Any Valorian would have. Any sensible being would have. But this human was not sensible. He was something else entirely. He turned his head slightly, looking at her with smoke-filled eyes. His voice was rough and tired, but steady. "Not done yet," he said again. 3 words. Just 3 simple words. But they hit Valara like a physical force. She had never heard anyone say anything with such certainty, such stubborn refusal to accept reality. She ran ahead of him and pointed to the nearest medical tent. "There! Put them there!" The soldier nodded and changed direction. When he finally reached the medical bed, he placed both children down with surprising gentleness. His burned hands shook, but he made sure their heads were supported. He checked that they were breathing. Only then did he allow himself to fall. His broken leg gave out. He crashed to the ground hard, his body finally surrendering to the damage it had taken. Medical officers rushed toward him, but he waved them away. "The children first," he said. "Check the children." Valara kneeled beside him. "The children are stable. Minor injuries only. You saved them." The soldier closed his eyes and let out a long breath. "Good. That's good. Now let me help you." She worked on him for the next hour. His injuries were severe, 3rd-degree burns on his arms and face, a compound fracture in his left leg, smoke damage in his lungs. internal bruising. He should have been screaming in pain. He should have been unconscious. Instead, he watched her work with calm eyes. "What is your name?" she asked as she cleaned his wounds. "Marcus. Marcus Cole, Sergeant, Colonial Defense Force." "Sergeant Cole, you are either very brave or very foolish." He laughed. It was a rough sound, broken by coughing, but it was real laughter. "My mother always said the same thing." Valara shook her head. She could not understand this human. His body was destroyed, and he was laughing. "You should have dropped the children and saved yourself," she said. "Your injuries would have been less severe." Marcus looked at her with an expression she could not read. "No," he said simply. "No, that is not logical. You risked permanent damage to your body. You risked death." "They were kids," Marcus said. "Someone's kids. I don't drop kids." Valara stared at him. On Valoria Prime, logic always came first. Self-preservation was considered the highest wisdom. No Valorian would risk their life so completely for strangers. But this human had not even considered another option. The next 3 weeks changed Valara's life. Marcus Cole was assigned to her medical ward for recovery. His burns healed slowly. His leg required 2 surgeries, but every day he improved a little more. And every day Valara found herself spending more time with him. At first, she told herself it was professional interest. She was a xenobiologist. He was a perfect subject for study. Human healing abilities were remarkable, and she should document his recovery. But soon, she stopped pretending. She visited him in the mornings before her shift. She sat with him during her lunch breaks. She came back in the evenings when the ward was quiet. They talked. Marcus told her about Earth. He described oceans so large you could not see the other side. He told her about mountains that touched the clouds. He explained seasons, how the same place could be burning hot in summer and freezing cold in winter. Valara was horrified. "How did your species survive?" Marcus grinned. Stubbornness, mostly. He told her about his childhood. He grew up on a colony world called New Montana, where dust storms could bury a house in hours. His family were farmers. They grew food in soil that tried to kill their crops every season. "My mother used to say that nothing good comes easy," Marcus said. "If you want something to grow, you have to fight for it." "What about your father?" Valara asked. Marcus's smile faded slightly. "He died when I was 12. A storm hit our settlement. A transport vehicle got stuck in a ravine with a family inside. My father went out to help them. And he saved them, all 4 of them. But the storm—" Marcus paused. "He didn't make it back." Valara felt her hearts tighten. "I am sorry." "Don't be. He died the way he lived, helping people, fighting for what mattered." Marcus looked at her with those steady eyes. "That's not a bad way to go." Valara did not know what to say. On Valoria Prime, such a death would be considered tragic and foolish, a waste. But the way Marcus spoke about his father, there was pride in his voice. Love, respect. She began to understand something. Humans did not avoid death. They accepted it. And because they accepted it, they lived more fully than any species she had ever studied. One evening, Valara arrived at Marcus's room to find him out of bed. He was standing by the window looking at the stars. His leg was still in a support brace, but he was standing on his own. "You should be resting," she said. "I've rested enough." He turned to look at her. "Besides, I wanted to see the stars. I missed them." Valara walked to stand beside him. The view from the medical ward was beautiful. 1,000 stars burned in the darkness, each one a sun with its own worlds, its own stories. "Do you ever get scared?" she asked suddenly. Marcus considered the question. "All the time. But you act like you are not afraid of anything." "That's not the same thing." He looked at her seriously. "Fear is natural. Everyone feels it. The trick is not letting it control you. How? You feel the fear, you acknowledge it, and then you do what needs to be done anyway. He smiled slightly. Fear is not the boss of me. I'm the boss of fear. Valara felt something warm spread through her chest. She had never met anyone like this human. He was everything her people feared, reckless, emotional, unpredictable. And yet, standing beside him, she felt safer than she had ever felt in her perfectly planned life. The next day, everything shattered. Torek arrived on Nexus Station without warning. He walked into the medical ward during Valara's afternoon visit with Marcus. He stood in the doorway, watching them laugh together over a game of cards. His face showed no emotion, but Valara knew him well enough to see the coldness in his eyes. "Valara," he said smoothly, "I came to surprise you. I see you have been busy." Valara stood quickly. "Torek, this is Sergeant Cole. He was injured in the transport crash. I have been overseeing his treatment." "Indeed." Torek looked at Marcus the way one might look at a dangerous animal, curious but distant. "I have heard humans are remarkably durable." Marcus met his gaze calmly. "We do okay." That evening, Torek delivered the news. "I have submitted a formal request," he said, his voice pleasant. "The human soldier is being reassigned to the Outer Rim, a forward military post, very far from here." Valara felt ice in her veins. "You did what?" "I am protecting you, Valara. This human has clearly affected your judgment. Distance will help you remember who you are." He touched her cheek gently. "You will thank me later." He walked away, leaving Valara standing alone in the corridor. Her twin hearts were pounding, her hands were shaking. For the first time in her life, she felt something she had never felt before. Anger. Valara could not sleep that night. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling. Her twin hearts beat in an uneven rhythm. Her mind kept replaying Torek's words. "The human soldier is being reassigned very far from here." Marcus was leaving. Because of her. Because Torek had seen them laughing together. She turned on her side and closed her eyes. She tried to think about her future with Torek, the bonding ceremony, the safe life on Valoria Prime, the proper Valorian children they would raise together. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Marcus, his steady gaze, his warm smile, the way he laughed even when he was in pain. At 0300 hours, she made a decision. She got out of bed, dressed quickly, and walked through the quiet corridors of Nexus Station. Her feet knew where they were going even before her mind accepted it. She stopped outside Marcus's quarters. Her hand hesitated over the door panel. What was she doing? What would she say? Before she could change her mind, the door opened. Marcus stood there in simple sleep clothes. His hair was messy. His eyes were tired but alert. He did not seem surprised to see her. "I figured you might come," he said quietly. "They are sending you away," Valara whispered. "Because of me." Marcus nodded slowly. "I got the transfer orders an hour ago. Outer Rim. Some planet called Ashfall." He paused. "It's a volcanic world. Pretty dangerous from what I hear. This is my fault. If I had not spent so much time with you—" "Hey." Marcus stepped closer. His voice was gentle but firm. "This is not your fault. This is your betrothed making decisions for you. There's a difference." Valara felt tears forming in her eyes. Valorians rarely cried, but lately she had been crying more than she had in her entire life. "I do not want you to go," she said. The words came out before she could stop them. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that changed everything. "Then come with me." Valara stared at him. "What?" "Come with me to Ashfall. Leave this station. Leave your betrothed." His eyes were intense, burning with something she could not name. "Start a new life." I cannot do that. Cannot or will not? The question hung in the air between them. Valara opened her mouth to answer, but no words came out. I'm not asking you to decide right now, Marcus said softly. I'm just asking you to think about it. Really think about it. He took her hand gently. His fingers were warm against her cool lavender skin. What do you actually want, Valara? Not what your people expect. Not what is safe or logical. What do you want? She had no answer. The next day, Valara did something she had never done before. She went to the station's historical archives and began researching human culture. Not their biology, not their physical capabilities, their hearts, their emotions, their way of loving. What she found amazed her. Human history was filled with love stories, not calm, logical partnerships like Valorians had. Wild, passionate, impossible love stories. Humans had crossed oceans for love. They had fought wars for love. They had died for love. She read about a human ship called the Titanic. When it sank in frozen waters, men gave their places on lifeboats to women they had just met. Husbands held their wives as the cold water rose around them, choosing to die together rather than live apart. She read about human soldiers who ran through enemy fire to save wounded friends, about parents who lifted impossible weights to rescue their children, about ordinary people who became extraordinary when someone they loved was in danger. Valorians would call this madness, illogical, self-destructive. But Valara saw something different. She saw courage. She saw devotion. She saw a species that loved so deeply, so completely, that they would risk everything for it. And suddenly, her safe future with Torek seemed unbearably empty. That evening, she found Marcus in the observation deck. He was looking at the stars again. His transfer was scheduled for tomorrow morning. This might be the last time she would see him. My parents met during a flood, Marcus said without turning around. He had heard her approach. My mom was trapped in a building. Water was rising fast. She had maybe 20 minutes before she drowned. Valara walked to stand beside him. What happened? My dad was a rescue worker. He heard her calling for help on the radio. But the water was freezing. The current was deadly. His commander ordered him to wait for proper equipment. Did he wait? Marcus smiled. What do you think? He went anyway. He swam through freezing water for 15 minutes. He almost died 3 times. His heart actually stopped once, and his partner had to revive him. But he reached my mom. He got her out. Valara felt her heart's pounding. That is incredible. My mom asked him later why he did it, why he risked his life for a stranger. Marcus finally turned to look at her. His eyes were soft. You know what he said? What? He said, because you were worth the risk. Marcus paused. He didn't even know her yet. He just knew she needed help. And for my dad, that was enough. Valara felt tears streaming down her face. I do not know how to be brave like that. I do not know how to be like your father, like you. Marcus reached out and gently wiped a tear from her cheek. His touch was warm and tender. Bravery isn't about not being scared, Valara. It's about being scared and doing it anyway. He took a deep breath. I'm leaving at 600 tomorrow. Bay 12. If you're there, you're there. If you're not... His voice cracked slightly. I'll understand. I won't blame you. I'll miss you. He squeezed her hand one last time. Then he walked away. Valara stood alone in the observation deck, surrounded by a million stars. The weight of 2 futures pressed down on her. One future was safe, predictable, empty. The other was dangerous, uncertain, alive. She returned to her quarters. She sat on her bed. She stared at the wall. Her terminal blinked with a message from Torek. She did not open it. Instead, she looked at a small object on her desk. It was a human coin that Marcus had given her. He said it was from Earth. from a country called America. On one side was an eagle. On the other were words she had asked him to translate. "A pluribus unum," he had said. "Out of many, one." It means that different things can come together to make something new, something stronger. Valara held the coin in her hands. It was small and worn, worthless by galactic standards, but to her it was priceless. The hours passed slowly. She watched the clock on her wall. 0400, 0500, 0530. Her formal bonding robes hung in her closet. Her perfectly planned future waited for her. But her hearts were somewhere else. At 0545, Valara stood up. She looked at the bonding robes for a long moment. Then she turned away from them. She grabbed a bag and began packing. Not much, just essentials. Her research pad, some clothes, the human coin. At 0550, she was running. She ran through the corridors of Nexus Station. Her feet pounded against the metal floor. Her twin hearts beat faster than they had ever beat before. She was terrified. She was exhilarated. She was alive. At 0558, she reached Bay 12. The transport ship was there, engines warming. Marcus stood on the boarding ramp, his bag over his shoulder. He was looking back at the station, searching the crowd, searching for her. Their eyes met, and Marcus smiled. It was the most beautiful thing Valara had ever seen. Valara ran toward the boarding ramp, her bag bouncing against her side. Her lungs burned. Her twin hearts pounded so hard she thought they might burst. But she did not stop. Marcus dropped his bag and came down the ramp to meet her. When she reached him, she was breathing hard, her lavender skin flushed with exertion. "You came," he said. His voice was filled with wonder. "I came," she replied. "I do not know what I am doing. I do not know if this is right. But I could not watch you leave. I could not go back to my empty future." Marcus took her hands in his. His grip was warm and steady. "You're shaking," he said. "I am terrified." He smiled. "That's okay. We can be terrified together." Behind them, a loud voice called out, "Sergeant Cole, we're leaving in 2 minutes. Get on the ship." Marcus looked at Valara one more time. "Last chance to change your mind." Valara thought about Torek, about Valoria Prime, about safety and logic and everything her people valued. Then she thought about the human father kissing his daughter's wound, about Marcus walking through fire with 2 children in his arms, about a man swimming through freezing water for a woman he had never met. "I am not changing my mind," she said. They boarded the ship together. The transport to Ashfall was not comfortable. The ship was old. The seats were hard. The other passengers were mostly soldiers and construction workers, rough men and women who stared at Valara with curiosity. A Valorian scientist traveling to a volcanic colony world? It was unusual, to say the least, but Marcus stayed by her side. He introduced her to the other passengers simply. "This is Valara. She's with me." Those 4 words changed everything. The soldiers nodded respectfully. The workers stopped staring. Being with Marcus apparently meant something to these people. The journey took 3 days. Valara spent most of it looking out the window, watching the stars pass by. She also spent time talking with Marcus, learning more about where they were going. "Ashfall is not easy," he warned her. "The planet has active volcanoes. The air sometimes fills with ash. Earthquakes happen regularly. The colony has been rebuilt twice already." "Why do humans live there?" Valara asked. "Because the soil is incredibly fertile. The volcanic minerals make things grow like nowhere else. The colonists produce food for dozens of other worlds." He shrugged. "Humans go where they're needed, even if it's dangerous." Valara shook her head slowly. "My people would never settle such a world." "I know." Marcus smiled. "That's what makes us different." When the transport landed on Ashfall, Valara understood why the planet had its name. The sky was orange and gray. Ash drifted through the air like strange snow. In the distance, she could see a massive volcano, its peak glowing red against the clouds. The ground trembled slightly beneath her feet. Everything inside her screamed danger. "Run! Flee! This place wants to kill you!" But the humans around her were smiling. They were happy to be home. "Welcome to Ashfall," Marcus said. "It's not pretty, but it's ours." The colony was built inside a massive protective dome. The dome filtered the ash and kept the air clean. Inside, Valara saw something that surprised her. It looked like a real town. There were houses and shops. Children played in a central plaza. People walked dogs and carried groceries. An old woman sat on a bench, feeding birds. It was normal, ordinary, alive. "This is not what I expected," Valara admitted. "What did you expect?" "I do not know. Survival bunkers, emergency shelters, people living in fear." Marcus laughed. "Humans don't just survive, Valara. We live, we build homes, we plant gardens, we make communities." He gestured at the town around them. "We turn dangerous places into homes." The first few months were hard. Valara had to learn everything from the beginning. She learned to read the seismic monitors that predicted earthquakes. She learned to recognize the warning signs of volcanic activity. She learned which ash was safe and which was toxic. The Valorian part of her brain screamed in protest every day. "This is wrong. This is dangerous. You should not be here." But another part of her, a new part, was growing stronger. She started working at the colony's medical center. Her xenobiology training was valuable here, where humans and aliens lived together. She treated injuries and illnesses. She helped deliver babies. She became part of the community, and she fell deeper in love with Marcus every day. He was patient with her fears. When she panicked during her first earthquake, he held her until she stopped shaking. When she cried because she missed the safety of Valoria Prime, he listened without judgment. "It's okay to be scared," he always said. "It's okay to miss your home. But you're building a new home now, and I'll be right here with you." She also made friends. Rosa Chen was the colony's head doctor. She was a fierce woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had lived on Ashfall for 20 years and had survived 3 major eruptions. "You're the Valorian who ran away with our Marcus," Rosa said when they first met. Valara blushed. "I suppose I am." Rosa studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Good. That boy needed someone to shake up his life. He was getting too serious." She put a hand on Valara's shoulder. "Welcome to Ashfall, Starshine. You're one of us now." 1 year after arriving on Ashfall, Marcus took Valara to a special place. They hiked for 2 hours through rocky terrain. The ash had cleared that day, and the sky was almost blue. When they reached the top of a cliff, Valara gasped. Below them stretched a valley filled with flowers. Thousands of them, in every color imaginable. They grew from the volcanic soil, fed by minerals that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. "How is this possible?" Valara whispered. "Life finds a way," Marcus said. "Even in the most dangerous places, beautiful things can grow." He turned to face her. His expression was serious but tender. "Valara, I know this past year hasn't been easy. I know you gave up everything to come here. Your home, your family, your safe future." He took her hands. "I can never repay you for that, but I can promise you something." "What?" "I can promise to love you every single day, to protect you when I can, to stand beside you when I can't." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "I can promise to build a life with you, a family, a future." He opened the box. Inside was a ring made from black volcanic glass. It sparkled in the orange light. "Valara Shenkai, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Valara's face. Happy tears, scared tears, overwhelmed tears. "Yes," she said. Yes, I will marry you. Marcus slipped the ring onto her finger. Then he kissed her gently, and Valara felt like her twin hearts might explode with joy. But happiness, as she would soon learn, was never guaranteed. 3 months later, Valara discovered 2 things. First, she was pregnant. A human Valorian hybrid child was growing inside her, the first of its kind in history. Second, the volcano was waking up. The seismic monitors showed activity unlike anything the colony had seen before. The eruption was coming months ahead of schedule, and it was going to be massive. Valara stood in the medical center, her hand on her stomach, watching the warning lights flash red. She had finally found happiness. She had finally found home, and now everything might be taken away. The alarms would not stop. Red lights flashed across the colony. The ground shook every few minutes. In the distance, the volcano glowed brighter than Valara had ever seen it. She stood in the medical center, her hand pressed against her stomach. Inside her, a new life was growing. Half human, half Valorian, a child that should have been impossible, and now that child might never see the world. Marcus burst through the doors. His face was covered in ash and sweat. He had been helping with evacuation preparations for hours. "Valara!" He ran to her and took her hands. "Are you okay? Is the baby okay?" "We are fine, for now." She looked into his eyes. "How bad is it?" Marcus hesitated. That hesitation told her everything. "The eruption is bigger than predicted," he said finally. "Lava flows are cutting off our main escape route. Half our transport ships were damaged in the earthquakes." He paused. "We don't have enough ships for everyone." Valara felt ice spread through her veins. "What does that mean?" "It means we have to be creative. It means we have to fight." Marcus squeezed her hands. "It means we don't give up." The colony's main hall became a command center. Valara watched as humans worked together with incredible speed. Engineers drew plans on digital boards. Soldiers coordinated evacuation routes. Doctors prepared emergency supplies. Nobody was panicking. Nobody was crying. They were focused, determined, united. Rosa appeared beside Valara. The old doctor looked tired but calm. "First major eruption?" Rosa asked. Valara nodded. "I am terrified." "Good. Terror keeps you sharp." Rosa watched the organized chaos around them. "You know what I love about humans? We're never more alive than when everything is falling apart. That's when we show who we really are." "How can you be so calm?" Rosa smiled. "Because I've seen what we can do when we work together. I've seen us survive the impossible." She patted Valara's arm. "Watch and learn, Starshine. This is humanity at its best." Marcus stood on a platform, addressing the colony. "Listen up," his voice carried across the hall. "We have 6 hours before the main eruption. Our primary escape route is blocked. Half our ships are damaged. By all logical calculations, we should not survive this." He paused. The crowd was silent. "But I don't believe in logical calculations. I believe in us." A murmur went through the crowd. "We are going to divert the lava flows using controlled explosions. We are going to repair the damaged ships with whatever parts we can find. We are going to carry those who cannot walk." Marcus's eyes blazed. "And we are going to get everyone off this planet. Everyone. No one gets left behind." A young engineer raised his hand. "Sergeant, the math doesn't work." "We don't have enough time or resources." "Then we'll make the math work." Marcus looked at the crowd. "I've seen humans do impossible things. I've seen mothers lift vehicles to save their children. I've seen soldiers carry wounded friends for miles. I've seen ordinary people become heroes when it mattered." He pointed at the volcano in the distance. "That mountain thinks it can beat us. It's wrong. We are humans. We don't quit. We don't surrender. We fight until our last breath, and then we fight some more." The crowd erupted in cheers. Valara watched with tears in her eyes. This was why she had fallen in love with him. This was why she had left everything behind. This was what humans were. The next 6 hours were chaos. Valara worked in the medical center, treating injuries and preparing patients for evacuation. Her hands never stopped moving. Her twin hearts pounded with exhaustion and fear. Outside, she could hear explosions as teams diverted lava flows. She could hear engineers shouting as they repaired ships. She could hear children crying and parents comforting them. But she also heard something else: laughter. Even now, facing death, humans were laughing. They were making jokes. They were encouraging each other. A young soldier brought in an elderly man with a broken ankle. As Valara treated him, the old man looked up at her. "You're the Valorian," he said. "The one who married Sergeant Cole." "Yes." The old man smiled. "Good choice. That boy has a heart of gold." He winced as Valara wrapped his ankle. "You know what my grandmother used to say? She said humans are like weeds. You can't kill us. We just keep growing back." Valara laughed despite her fear. "I am beginning to understand that." With 1 hour left, the evacuation was almost complete. The damaged ships had been repaired. The lava flows had been diverted. Families were loading onto transports. Hope was spreading through the colony. But there was one problem. The last barrier protecting the main landing pad needed to be activated manually. Someone had to stay behind to trigger it while everyone else escaped. The barrier would protect the ships during takeoff, but whoever activated it would be trapped. Marcus volunteered immediately. "No," Valara said. Her voice was firm. "Absolutely not. Valara, someone has to do it. Then someone else can do it. You are going to be a father. You cannot leave us. And I can't let others die for me." Marcus cupped her face in his hands. "This is who I am. This is what I do. I protect people." Valara grabbed his tactical vest and pulled him close. Her eyes burned with fierce determination. "I did not cross the galaxy for you. I did not leave my entire world for you. I did not learn to love a volcanic hellscape for you." Her voice shook with emotion. "I am not losing you now. We do this together or not at all. That is what you taught me." Marcus stared at her. She could see the conflict in his eyes. "Valara, you said bravery is being scared and doing it anyway. Well, I am terrified, but I am not leaving your side." It was Rosa who saved them. The old doctor had been listening. She pushed through the crowd with a data pad in her hand. "Stop being dramatic, both of you." She shoved the data pad at Marcus. "I found a way to automate the barrier trigger. We can rig it to a timer." Marcus looked at the calculations. "This has a 40% chance of failure." Rosa snorted. 40%? That's excellent odds. I've survived worse." They worked together frantically. Marcus and Rosa rigged the timer while Valara helped the last evacuees onto the ships. The ground shook violently. The volcano roared. With 3 minutes left, everything was ready. They ran for the last transport. Valara's legs burned. Her lungs screamed. But Marcus held her hand, pulling her forward. They made it onto the ship, just as the doors closed. The transport lifted off. Below them, the barrier activated perfectly. The lava flow crashed against it and diverted away from the landing pad. Through the window, Valara watched Ashfall disappear beneath clouds of ash and fire. Her home for the past year, the place where she had learned to be brave, gone, but not forever. 3 years later, Valara sat on the porch of her new home on Ashfall 2. The colony had been rebuilt on a safer part of the planet. The dome was bigger. The warning systems were better. The community was stronger. In the yard, Marcus was teaching their daughter to walk. Lyra was 3 years old now. She had her father's brown hair and her mother's lavender eyes. She had one human heart and one Valorian heart, beating together in perfect harmony. She fell constantly. She got back up every time. "Again, Daddy!" Lyra shouted, running toward Marcus on unsteady legs. She tripped and tumbled onto the soft grass. Marcus laughed and scooped her up. "You're doing great, little star," he said, kissing her forehead. Valara watched them with tears in her eyes, happy tears, grateful tears. Her terminal blinked with a message. It was from the Valorian Science Council. They wanted her to speak about human families. Her research had become famous across 12 star systems. She typed a simple response. "Humans taught me that love is not the absence of fear. It is the presence of something stronger. My daughter fell 9 times today learning to walk. She laughed every time. I finally understand what it means to be brave." That night, Marcus found Valara on their observation deck, looking at the stars. "Any regrets?" he asked softly. Valara looked at him. She thought about everything she had left behind, everything she had gained. "Only one," she said. Marcus tensed. "I wish I had run faster to that docking bay." He laughed and pulled her into his arms. They stood together, watching the stars. Inside the house, Lyra was sleeping peacefully, dreaming of running and falling and getting back up again. And Valara finally understood what humans had known all along. The most dangerous thing in the universe was not chaos or fire or uncertainty. It was never taking the leap. It was never risking your heart. It was living safe and small and never knowing what you could have been. She had taken the leap. She had risked everything. And she had found more than she ever dreamed possible. A home, a family, a love worth fighting for. The end.